Welcome everyone to our first live episode. Exciting times. This could go without issues or maybe not, who knows, but we're going to give it a try anyway. As always, I'm Derek in Ireland, joined by my good friend and co-host Megan. How are you?
Hey, sick. Sick, but I am well. The week of wrestling has been, you had your ups and your downs. You had
Yeah.
your whatever was going on in the ring as well as out of the ring. So outside of being sick, I've been entertained. How have you
Okay.
been?
Yeah. As always, there's lots to talk about in the fast moving world of wrestling, from WWE to AEW and all the in between. Um, SmackDown, of course, had its first episode on Netflix. It's not on Netflix over in the US, I believe, but
Um, no.
internationally. Last Friday night. I don't really think it matched up to the debut of Raw somehow. How do you feel about
No.
that?
No, it didn't. It was a slow episode. I mean, you know, we but we kind of expected that SmackDown was going to have some difficulties matching up with Raw, especially that very huge PLE field that Raw had gave last week. And
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of people are not really interested in SmackDown being a 3-hour show. I'm
No.
still for it. I'm still for it. I just think they just have to be some switching of bodies around. Just switch some people around and it'll pick up. That's how I feel
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah, I don't think it will last at 3 hours. And of course, they haven't really defined a set amount of time for SmackDown or Raw. I believe that it's just kind of as long as it'll go kind of thing. But there has to be some agreement there somewhere, I would imagine. It can't just go
Right.
on indefinitely and with schedules and all that type of thing. But no, the episode itself, I think the Cody part with Kevin Owens and the Bloodline was probably about the biggest, the most exciting part of that. And which LA Knight and Shinsuke Nakamura, and then Bloodline interference there also. So I think
Yes.
for me, we just need to see this Cody heel turn as soon as possible. I hope it's gonna.
Yes. Well, yeah, although the mood for SmackDown was a little solemn, it was a little boring. We did learn that Roman is going to be in the Royal Rumble, but I think that was obvious. We knew that he was going to be a part of the Royal Rumble because he wants his title back.
Yeah.
But even with Solo not being there, you can still feel the presence of the bloodline, seeing as how Jacob and Tama Tonga was pretty much just running things for the most part.
Yeah.
And of course, getting involved in LA's match and causing him his title opportunity. But yeah, overall, Bailey is going to be Tiffany Stratton's first title defense. I'm trying to understand what their plans are with Bailey. She won the title opportunity on SmackDown. Come Raw, she's in the audience because it was in her hometown of San Jose.
Yeah.
And then she popped on NXT last night and pretty much challenged Roxanne. So I'm trying to figure out what it is that they're doing with Bailey. It seems as though they're trying to maybe rebuild her character, or they're moving to another personality with her, the role model.
I think they're at a bit of a crossroads now with her. And she has been on the go for must be 10 years at this stage. So maybe there's, yeah.
Bailey is boring to me. I can't help it. When I see her on TV, it's hard for me to get excited over her. I mean, she's a phenomenal wrestler, and
She is.
she is an even more phenomenal person outside of wrestling. But it's just her whole presence in WWE. It just is boring to me.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's fair enough. I do enjoy Bailey. I think um, she was probably better in control or damage control. I think that side of her, was quite good.
Hmm.
But yeah, we'll just have to see. Maybe there's a reinvention there coming along. Um,
Right.
so we had Raw, of course, last Monday night. I was going to say last night because I got to watch it last night. But
Yes.
that kicked off with a bang. CM Punk straight out of the blocks. Um,
Yes.
and he, of course, declared like we didn't know for the Royal Rumble also. And he was interrupted by Mr. Seth Rollins. And then Drew McIntyre came into the mix as well. So
Hmm.
I think overall quite a decent segment to begin with. Yeah, but Raw itself, it wasn't the same, of course, as the week before because of yeah, it just didn't have all the bells and whistles of the debut episode, I guess.
Yes. It's true. And now that within the matter of a week's time, we have learned that not only will it be CM Punk and Drew and Seth and Roman, but we also have Jay Uso, we have John Cena, um, LA Knight.
Yeah,
I feel like there's somebody else too that's all going to be in the Royal Rumble. Um, but I bring
yeah,
that up to say this is the first time Roman is going to be in the Royal Rumble in years.
that's
And
right.
he has made a lot of enemies in those years.
He has
So
indeed.
I know, I know the minute his number is called, his music come out, he walks to the ring, he gets into that ring, they're all going to gun for him. They're
Yeah,
all going to just attack him. So he has a lot to look forward to come Royal Rumble. He has a lot of
he's a marked man.
yeah, he got a very huge target on his back
Yeah.
for
But
sure.
they're also building something with like we had the segment backstage, Sami Zayn and Seth Rollins as well. Um, so there's obviously something building there. So yeah, quite a lot of different ways they can go with these storylines. I think they're kind of setting themselves up nicely for to go in various different directions with it. Um,
Yeah, yeah. He might. It now that you mention that, I do feel like Sammy might turn on Roman,
mm, the
and it's
seed is
only
being planted there.
because yes, but the seed was not necessarily planted by Seth. He just watered it.
Yeah,
The seed was planted by Karrion Cross. That little segment between Sammy, The Miz, and Karrion Cross. Every single person who has come across Karrion Cross's path has turned. The
yeah,
New Day. Um, he tried it with I think he did try it with the Street Profits. It kind of started off like they was going to turn. I still feel like they will. Um, but every person that Karen Cross comes across, the Miz, they turn. They turn on
yeah,
people. So, and if anyone has got a chance to see it, I think it's his latest or his second to last post on his Instagram page. Karrion Cross uh he kind of emphasized that,
mm,
this plans that he has for Sammy. So yeah. I would
Mm.
I would probably watch out for Sammy too. I think Sammy could possibly turn on Roman.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, it's something definitely to look out for. But for me, what was the biggest highlight for me on Raw this week? Do you think, Megan?
Ah, a former AEW performer.
No,
Oh no.
no.
It was the
History.
debut of the new reigning, defending women's intercontinental champion,
Yes.
Lyra Valkyria, who defeated Dakota
Dakota Kai.
Kai
Yeah.
clean. It was a clean.
It was a clean win, and it was a
It was a
great
very.
win, and it was a
It was.
historic win,
It
and
was.
it was fantastic to see. And look, I hope she holds that belt for quite some time, even if she doesn't. She is
Yeah.
the first ever women's intercontinental champion, and it's fantastic to see. So yeah, that for me is, and of course the Irish um, headlined pretty much the whole of Raw. We had Sheamus versus Ludwig Kaiser, and we had Finn Balor and Damian Priest in their street fight. So a really strong showing from the Irish overall. Uh, yeah, I'm very happy with that.
Yes. I mean, it may not have been a great night for Finn, but it was a great night for Sheamus, who does now get another title opportunity against Braun Breaker for
Yeah,
the Intercontinental title at this coming up Saturday night's main event on the 25th. And you know what? As they said, he might not have been the first time, but now he's getting his second opportunity, and I don't think they are not going to give it to Sheamus this time. I do. And if that's the case, we will have two intercontinental champions of Irish descent on Raw. And I
unbelievable.
know that will mean a lot.
Yeah, well, look, we're in a country of a population of, was it 5 million, I believe, which is insane to be able to produce that, from such a small country. So I'm very proud, and long may it continue. And there's a lot more to come from Ireland, I think, in the next few years, to follow in
Yes.
those footsteps. So fantastic stuff. Liv and Dom, little bit of as we predicted last week, we discussed it. There couldn't be but repercussions due to how Dom behaved last week, and we see the cracks appearing now.
A chicken tender slut. That is what Dominic is. He just, you know, he is definitely a gold digger. Okay, he is attaching himself to women who have gold. We are not going to forget the fact that he was at one point eyeballing Tiffany Stratton, and now she has the biggest gold on SmackDown in the women's division. So, if it does not work out for him and Liv, I can see where his eyes can be wandering off to. But
Will you be looking at Lyra now?
I mean, Dominique is capable of just trying to make a name for himself, and that is through a powerful woman. So Lyra is definitely on that very short list of women who are now champions. So I wouldn't be surprised if he tries it with her.
Yeah, look, it's an interesting one, and when it finally, it is finally going to happen, we're going to see the big breakup there. I don't know what way that's going to go and affect the Judgment Day. There's a lot of different ways things can go. So I don't know what Triple H and the team have in their head. But I guess we'll just have to wait and find out. But there was also, I did see a little bit, I think it was The Miz backstage. They're just talking to Wyatt Six, perhaps move to SmackDown also.
Yes.
Just to touch on the Wyatt Six a little bit, I don't think the momentum is there anymore. You know, when they first kind of they came back after all the cryptic clues, and there was, you know, bloodshed everywhere. There was all kinds. They broke up the whole place. It's kind of lost its way a little bit since that. Do you think?
Um, and maybe that's why they're looking into moving them to SmackDown to see
Yeah.
if it will pick up. I mean, let's be honest. We were all very happy that Bo came back to be a part of WWE after his brother's passing. But
Mm-hmm.
you know, even having his little brother there, you still going to miss that key element, and the key element is Bray.
Yeah.
So, you know, that is that's something that I think they can fix. I think they can
Mm-hmm.
fix it. It may have had a lot to do with the idea that they kind of dragged the storyline between them and Karrion Kross maybe a little too long. But at the same time, it did push Karrion Kross because it seemed like at one point he was about to be put on a chopping block again. And now he has reinforced himself within the company to where, you know, people genuinely care about what he has going on, and they watch his matches and stuff. And he has such a hilarious presence online as well. So, you know, I just think it's just a matter of when you keep people stagnant for too long, yeah, people are going to get bored, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have them on the show on Raw, it worked for a little while, but it
Yeah.
seemed like I think where the morale for them kind of slowed down is when they got beat up. Like they
Yeah.
are supposed to be, they're supposed to be
Yeah. Nearly like supernatural.
yeah, so you're not
Yeah.
supposed to lose, but you know, let's be honest, the WWE universe is so finicky that if you have somebody winning too often, they get bored off of that as well. So
Yeah.
you have to try to keep them as
Innovate,
happy as possible.
reimagine, reinvent, all that kind of stuff. And like we saw
All
it
this
even with Liv and Rhea, and people were getting sick of that storyline. Even Cody and Roman, nobody wants to really see that again, you know. So it has its moment, and you just have to move on and come up with something else.
yeah, I mean, of course, Roman feels that he's going to get his title back from Cody, but you know, the thing about it is, like I said before, you have John Cena in the mix now. You have CM Punk, who, you know, he got injured last year. I guarantee he will not get injured this year. You have Drew and Seth and probably a couple of people returning and stuff. So everyone has, it's like
Absolutely impossible to pick a winner though for the Royal
I would,
Rumble.
yeah, honestly, I would just hate to be Gunther or Cody right now. Even though Cody is going to be focused on Kevin,
Yeah.
I'm sure he's going to win the title. I'm sure he's going to hold the title. I feel like if Cody loses it, it will be at the biggest, grandest stage of it all, and that's WrestleMania. But to who is the question, you
That's
know? But
it.
I'm also sure that this new guy is going to be in the Royal Rumble as well.
Yes. I know who you're gonna say.
Yes, who had an amazing debut this week on Raw. As Michael Cole called it, the worst kept secret in business because we all knew he was coming.
Yeah.
we've known for a couple of months now, despite the fact that his brother has been kind of captured
Hmm.
and held against his will um, in his old company. But Penta had what I felt was a beautiful debut. There was a little couple of blunders. There was a few botches throughout the match, but
The
I
ideal
chalked it
type
up.
of wrestler, though, he had to fight. Like Chad was the ideal guy to have him debuting with. Really, though, I think in terms of
I do.
wrestling and so on and ability. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. I think it just had a lot to do with nerves.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Of course. Yeah.
probably being told while you're in Gorilla, like, hey, you got a couple of thousands of people here in the audience watching you, and you got a couple of millions of people at home
Mhm.
watching you, but no pressure. It's
Yeah.
okay. You could do it. And I know that would send my heart down to my feet because
Oh yeah. You either like you could fold very easily there and just collapse, with the pressure, or else you go out there and you use that as fuel and it pushes you on. And that's where a lot of these guys are able to harness that and use it in that way. But I'm sure there is a lot of nervous excitement and energy. Um,
absolutely,
but Penta, my God, one hell of a wrestler.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And his family was there, and it was just very touching to see his daughter, so emotional. Um, Seeing her father
Hmm.
perform. Of course, as we was speaking earlier, trolls will be trolls, and people said what they had to say, but at the end of the day, it was a very monumental moment, and this is to no slate to Rey Mysterio at all, none whatsoever. But I always felt like they were going to look for their next big Mexican wrestler.
Yeah.
And you had that in Eddie Guerrero. Even though a lot of people try to say, well, he's only became more once he passed, which is like you clearly wasn't watching him before he had passed. Like Eddie
No.
had people at eating out of the palm of his hands, whether it
Yeah.
was him and oh my god, I can't remember the name of the group, but it was him, Dean Malenko, Perry Saturn, and Chris
Hmm.
Benoit in WCW, coming to WWE, him in China, him and his nephew Chavo. The
Mamacita. Yeah.
storyline, yes, the storyline between him and Rey Mysterio over Dominique, just being that overall entertainer.
Yeah.
And
You're
I
gifted.
feel like, yes, very. And I feel like we can have that with
Yeah.
Penta. I do. Because AEW, they didn't really have him talk. They always had him as like silent
Hmm.
wrestler. You seen him, but you never he did. It was rare that he cut promos. Is what I'm saying. That's not going
Well,
to be like that
Megan,
in WWE.
well, that's a good point you bring up about him with AEW, because that's another thing we wanted to to get into here in this episode. Just about, I know you watch a lot more AEW than I do, and I wanted to
Right.
kind of get your thoughts on it. So maybe we can spend a little time doing that. Just on the current status, or what do you think of AEW at the moment, your overall thoughts, and if you were asked to improve the brand or the promotion in any way, what kind of things would you be looking to implement there, or changes, and that type of stuff.
Mm.
do
That
we
is a
have enough,
very
do we have enough
loaded
time?
question. I don't know we have enough time, but honestly, I've only two times in previous jobs that I've had, I was in a leadership position. And some people might even feel like I wasn't the best leader because
Mm,
I've always asked my people under me, what do you want? What do you want? What will make you enjoy this job? And a lot of the times, leader is supposed to take the reins, and you are supposed to mold people into what you feel is best for the company. And I've always felt like I don't want people that work under me who hates me as a boss, hates working here. They're because they're not going to get their 100 because they can't stand me nor the job.
yeah.
And the AEW, I feel like there's maybe a little too much of that there, giving a little too much freedom.
Do you think Tony Khan is more like a buddy than a boss to some of the guys?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think, look, you have these two companies that have very two different structures. We know WWE is structured. You
Hmm.
come in, you could tell them what ideas you have. If they like it, okay. If they don't like it, they're going to tell you, we don't like it, but we have a character for you that we think will not only make you very popular amongst the crowd, but it will also make you and I a lot of money. And
Yeah.
with AEW, I feel as though Tony really just approves a lot of what the wrestlers want. And a lot of times it's not cohesive with whatever other stories that they have going on. It's just,
Okay. Well, let me ask you this: do you feel that, like, Tony Khan is obviously an accomplished businessman? That doesn't
right.
always translate from one business to another. He doesn't have any wrestling. He's more like a wrestling super fan. He claims to be, but he didn't have the experience. The company is in its relative infancy. It's only been around about 6 years, where Triple H has been immersed and with the McMahon family for many, many years. So on top of his own wrestling past and the knowledge that he would have lapped up being around the McMahons, that would kind of help him a lot more than Tony Khan, who's a little bit much like just a rich guy playing, more of a hobby like thing. I don't know. What do you think?
But you know what? It didn't have to be that way
Mm,
because you have Dustin Rhodes there.
yeah.
You have Jeff Jarrett there, who helped start TNA. You had Arn Anderson there.
JR,
You
Taz, top
you
guys.
have a number of people. Even throw Ric Flair in it.
Yeah.
So you have a line of people who either was a part of WWE at some point, because everyone that we have named was a part of WWE at some point, whether it was through Vince Jr. or Vince Sr.,
Yeah.
who can show Tony the way. I just don't think Tony,
Doesn't want to know.
I think he wants to run things the way he sees fit. And you need
Okay. Yeah.
help. You It's not wrong to ask for help.
Yeah.
It doesn't make you less of a person, less of a boss, less of a, founder, creator, owner to get a little help. And, if I was running a company, wrestling promotion, and I have people who are way older than me,
Yeah.
Arn Anderson, Ric Flair, Jeff Jarrett. First of all, I would honestly use Jeff Jarrett to my advantage because his father, his people grew up in wrestling, and then he
Mhm.
went on to create a wrestling promotion that's still thriving today.
Yeah.
TNA Impact, you know,
Yeah.
and if anyone knows how to run a company, it's him. And he also had Eric Bischoff, but Eric Bischoff and Tony Khan, they absolutely despise each other. A lot of people
Correct.
feel like Eric Bischoff burns things down to the ground. I don't think he does. I think Eric Bischoff is like me. We like to take risks, and sometimes the risks can lead to us driving off of a cliff. But how would
Mm.
we know it wasn't going to work out unless we tried it? And he's
Yeah.
been doing pretty well with MLW, and he'll he popped up in NXT a few weeks ago, so I feel like he still has some type of relationship
Yeah. Bischoff will
with
be okay.
WWE.
He'll always be okay. Um, but yeah, like with 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 AEW, it is an interesting one. Like there's no doubting the talent is there, both male and female. The roster is stacked.
Right,
They've made some good decisions in moving to some smaller venues. Now they have the Grand Slam. Is it next month in Australia? I do think they should perhaps look into the way WWE go to France and Germany and the UK. I know AEW have been there for All In, but maybe some of these smaller events and even coming to the likes of Ireland, like there is great interest, and we don't want AEW to fail. We're fans, so we want them to succeed. And yeah, I just think maybe they need to go back and rip up some of the plans and start again with some things, you know.
I think the thing is, if AEW go to France, will people care? If
Yeah.
AEW go to Ireland, would the people of Ireland care? I mean, there might be some people at AEW that they will want to see, but it's nothing like hearing a year into a year ahead of time that WWE is coming out there. If I guarantee you, if WWE announced today that next year they was going to hold a major PLE out there in Ireland, the tickets would sell. In
Yeah.
fact, there probably wouldn't be much within a couple of weeks. The tickets would sell out.
Mm.
And I don't know if AEW has that international
Well,
gravitation around them
that
just
was another
yet.
thing I was going to say. Like, if I go online on social media, their social media presence is nowhere near the level of WWE. If you go onto their website is really plain in comparison to WWE's website. So I think when it even coming down to fundamental things like marketing and those type of which we know a company can live and die by its marketing and its social media side of things, especially in this day and age. And with us being involved in content creation with the wrestling and all, we do follow lots and lots of accounts, but the majority of what you see is WWE related. So maybe
Yes.
maybe that's a problem too. It's just not getting the exposure. However, having said that, it's very easy to get access to WWE content, and especially on Netflix now. Whereas with AEW, it's on a really obscure channel over here that not everybody would have. So it's difficult to actually see the events. I know they have them on YouTube and that, but it's not as accessible as WWE is.
Well, they also now have the Max app, which is
We don't have that
allowing
here. Yeah.
you don't have
No.
Max.
No, not that I
See,
know of. It's not freely available anyway. And maybe with a VPN you could use it. But that's it's a lot of hassle for the ordinary everyday folks to kind of do.
I know we'll see. I know that AEW deals with Warner Brothers Discovery. Um, Maybe that is something that is going to ultimately change. Um, but I don't know. Every time I talk to you, I learn something new.
There you go. That's
So,
what we're here for, Megan. That's
you
what we're here
know, but
for.
you know, outside of what has been going on between WWE debuts and AEW and Kenny Omega coming back and um, John Moxley having a really huge match this week in his hometown of
Mhm.
Cincinnati, Ohio. Um, a lot of other things has been happening outside of wrestlers, commentators.
Yes, indeed.
Yes. And as we all know, we have Pat McAfee and Michael Cole on Raw, and we have Wade and Joe on SmackDown. And last week on NXT, it was revealed that Corey Graves was going to be joining NXT as the
Mhm.
third man on the commentary with Vic and Booker T. Um, but a few days ago, rather 2 days ago, Corey Graves posted up a tweet,
Mhm.
pretty much venting, talking about his
Really.
wrestling career coming to an end due to an injury, and then becoming really good at commentary, and ultimately being told that he wasn't famous enough for his job. And a lot of people were shocked. A lot of people were shocked. They felt it was real. I definitely felt it was real. I still feel like there is some true feelings behind it. Um, but
Yeah.
now, as things started coming out, people feel like it's a work. Now, Corey did later on that day say that he had a lot of things to say,
Yeah.
and to see everybody on NXT, and then shortly after it was revealed that Corey was not going to be on NXT last night, and he was not.
But as it
Um,
stands right now, has Corey Graves been relieved of his duties? Has he been fired? Has there been any announcement there? No.
Not from what I've seen, no.
No.
Not from
So
what I've seen. I've heard a lot of people saying that he is supposedly been cleared, medically cleared.
yeah, that's
Um,
why I think it
if
could
he
be leading. There
chose,
could be a work there. It could be leading to some kind of
yes,
storyline.
which I think, listen, I've said this last year when I had such a disdain for these dirt sheets because they was revealing everything. People returning, people leaving,
Yeah.
contracts, feuds backstage. Um, it was a podcast. I think it was Vince Russo's podcast with Al
Ah.
Snow. And Al Snow, he said, listen,
Oh, Jonathan
this is
Coachman as well, and Vince are
him
buddies.
too.
Yeah. Yeah.
But this was last year. This episode was last year. And I couldn't agree more with Al Snow. He said this was unheard of.
Mm.
Our business, our locker room issues wasn't a thing for the fans. We dealt with
Yeah.
whatever we dealt with backstage, and the fans knew nothing of it. We will settle it before we went out there, put on a show, and if we still have beef, we'll deal with it backstage. But he said something happened to where we started welcoming these reporters into the locker rooms, and now they feel like they know about
Yeah.
wrestling more than we do. And I'm not
Yeah.
gonna lie, I felt like there was certain people he was talking about. Now we're not in the business of bashing anyone on here, but I kind of had an idea on who he was referring to. And so of course, now that this has come out with Corey, I initially felt it was real. Now
Mhm.
I feel like what I felt back then. I feel like WWE will deliberately put out stories that may or may not be true to throw the websites off.
Yeah, and
And
rightfully so. That's an old
yes,
saying going back many years. When I was young, I used to hear people saying, like, if you find somebody that's always hunting for news or gossip, fill them with shit. Tell them what they want to hear. It doesn't have to be
yeah,
the truth, because they'll spread it around anyway. So it's really just another version of that.
yes, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, you obviously you did have people there that was sharing things
Mm,
to different websites and stuff, and that slowed down because a lot of people started getting let go,
yeah,
which I felt like they started finding out who these people were that was leaking things out. And now I think
nice.
it's a
Yeah,
matter of, if you want to be the first one to break a story, we're going to let you be the first one to break a story.
yeah,
And whether it's real or not, you're not going to find out until after you have broke the story, ran with it, and so on and so forth. So,
make
you
you
know,
make you look stupid. Then that's it.
you know, you're getting what you want, and
Mm,
that is the views. You want
that's it.
views, and you're getting the views. Corey's story is all over the internet. No one knows if it's a work or not. But by this time, it doesn't even matter because for the last 2 days, that's all we've been talking about was him.
Yeah,
Everybody tuned in to NXT last night to see if he would show up, if he would do a pipe bomb promo like CM Punk all those years ago. Was he going to hijack the show? Was he going to take over? And he did. He did show up. But I bet you NXT got those views.
that's
People
it.
tuned in.
And that's all
So
that.
it
That's all
worked.
they. That's all they want at the end of it all. There's no, there is no such thing as bad publicity for them. Once they get the eyes on it, they're happy
No.
out. And I see the Queen herself, Charlotte, was backstage at NXT last night with. I saw her picture with Tara and Lash Legend.
Yes. Uh that just that made me so happy. I can't wait for her to come back. I cannot wait for her to come back. I feel like she is that missing piece. I feel like she is
Yeah.
her and Becky. Her and
Hmm.
Becky. I think with them two gone, um, the women's division have been doing what it was supposed to do, but they add an element. They add a
Yeah.
flavor
It nearly
when they're
just goes up
there,
another notch when they're involved.
when they're involved. And
You know,
so I know that's just a step to her coming back. And I will be looking forward to her being at the Royal Rumble. I think she's ready. I think
yeah.
she's ready to come. I think
Well,
she's
I'd love
ready
to
to
see AJ Lee coming back as well. And I think she's,
it's been 10 years. It's
yeah.
been 10 years. It's been about as long as her husband being gone. So
Mhm.
maybe she will
Yeah.
pop up at
Bellas,
the Royal
bring everyone
Rumble.
back. Bring them all back. You
And
know.
the Bella Twins.
Yeah.
Because the Bella Twins have been hinting that they have made up with WWE and they are ready to come back. So I
Well,
feel like this
hopefully.
year is going to feel very nostalgic. We're going to
Yeah.
have a lot of familiar faces come back. So for those like me who had walked away from wrestling for a couple of years, and had to learn new faces and stuff all over again, to see those that we have last seen before we took
Hmm.
that break, like John Cena, the Bella Twins, AJ Lee, um, uh come back, you know, I think that's what we need. It's like
Yeah,
when we had Trish and Lita. We need those, because even though wrestling is for the younger generations, you know, when we see the wrestlers that were um on top when we were kids watching wrestling, it always brings us back to that moment.
of
Like
course.
even seeing The Rock come out
Yeah.
um takes me back to that moment. And I know as much as you wanted to see Jesse the Body at Saturday night's main
Mhm.
event, and to see him out there with that same boa and that same leather jacket from all the years ago, I know uh that had to touch you. Now, you
Yeah.
probably didn't feel that way about Hulk Hogan because a lot of
Yeah.
people did. A
Yeah.
lot of people booed him.
Well,
So
Hogan, that's another thing. Like, Kevin Nash, I saw made some comments about that there recently as well, and about the whole aftermath of Hulk Hogan. And he said, like, Triple H is very smart and would
right.
have had an idea that was going to happen. But once again, he knew if everyone cheered Hogan, that wasn't going to be all over the news. But the fact that everyone booed Hogan, it was everywhere, you know. So that's publicity once
It
again
was.
for the
Yeah,
beer, for everything, you know.
he's a
So,
smart guy. He's a real
incredibly
smart guy.
smart. There's a reason why he's there, you know. But I see that WWE's, I think it's Saturday night's main event is going to go head on with AEW's All in July,
Yes,
and
that's
that's
what
going
I
to be
heard.
interesting.
You know, there's a there's always a time for a little pettiness.
Mm,
And even though Triple H is a very smart man, I think he can be a very petty man too. And for Saturday
yeah,
night's main event, they've only been announcing it a month in advance. Um,
but
just
they
to
came
like
out and
keep
announced
us
that one months
6 months
before.
in advance. 6 months in advance. So I knew that was deliberate.
Yeah,
And I can only imagine what that Saturday night's main event is going to be like. Just like with NXT's rerun this past Saturday,
hmm,
airing the same time that Collision was on. Pettiness.
yeah,
Um, but uh, you know, that's more than enough time for AEW to build legitimate stories that can blow WWE out of the water. You know,
yeah,
because I mean, like I said, we're still rooting for AEW. We are. You know, and Saturday night's main event is a of a month show. This all in is your WrestleMania night one. So
yeah.
we need you to really put your focus on other stuff to the side and just really come up with um, something that we could follow for the next six
Yeah.
months um, until July that will make sense when
Yeah.
all in does come. Because
Well,
yeah,
that's it.
all in.
Now he's been notified, Tony. He has plenty of time. I would love to see us back at a time that was similar to the Monday Night Wars years ago. You know, where they're just going head to head, and it's like it's, you know, bash back and forth, punch. You know, one takes the lead, the other. Do you know all that? Like it's because it's just good for wrestling if we had that.
You
But
know,
yeah,
um,
we'll see what
just
happens.
I made a suggestion to an account on Twitter that consider themselves as a mole of the company. They say that they work there. They will not reveal who they are, but they tell little bits and pieces of what goes on. Um,
Mm,
behind the scenes, and that person asked, "What could be the biggest match we can put on
Mm-hmm.
that would draw you in, would make you, you know, get your friends to tune in to watch it?" And I came up with three. I said, I would love to see John and Bobby if it's booked, right?
Yeah.
Um, I can't remember what the second one was, but the third one was Ricky Stars and Edge. And I
Yeah.
said,
Hope.
because hope. Um, I said because there is real animosity
Yeah.
between these two, and it's already been made public. So when we would tune in to watch that match, we while you watching the match, you would want to know, ooh, that punch, was that a real punch? That kick, was that a real kick?
Mm.
You know, like we will watch that match to see if there is ever,
If they're working
which is,
stiff, as they used to say, or they're
yes,
really throwing the punches. Definitely,
which
yeah.
is what which is something that sometimes I watch when I watch in wrestling. I've always had that question, like, when can you tell that the match, the fight became real?
Yeah.
And I feel like with them two, they will be on everyone's mind. And I feel like that will be probably the biggest match that you could book because of the history, because of what's been going on, because Ricky has been on interviews. He has talked about, not directly, but of those behind the scenes who have made it hard for him.
Mm-hmm.
Um, him being one of them, allegedly. And I said, honestly, that would be the biggest match to me. I would tune into that match. And
Yeah.
that person, whoever they are, whether they really work there or not, um, they like the idea. So
There
if
you
they
go.
could somehow get them on board to
Yeah.
do that match, then I would expect that to be
Well,
one
if
of
it's
their
good for
biggest
business,
matches.
they might just make it happen because they can make anything happen when they know it's going to be money. But yeah,
Yeah.
look, so much potential there. But we also have to look at there's some upcoming events. So here in Ireland on the 1st of February, which is the same day as the Royal Rumble, we have the Loco Rumble in Dublin, from
Yes.
OTT, Over the Top Wrestling, biggest promotion across Europe. Um, and there's lots and lots of names being, entering into the local rumble, the likes of Isla Blanc, Robbie X, Moose. We have some other guys there from TNA. I can't remember the names. But we look, promises to be a really special event. Tickets are still
Mhm.
available, but quite limited. But the indie scene, yeah, definitely the promotions here in Ireland, they have a lot of events coming up soon and well worth checking out, as I'm sure is the same over where you are.
Yeah. Actually, on Sunday, I will be going to the GCW versus Everyone show here at the Hammerstein Ballroom. And
Mm.
that is on not Saturday, that's on Sunday. Um, so it'd be my first GCW show. The headlines is pretty stacked. The card is, so I'm looking forward to see it. Maybe some people will show up.
Mm.
That was the show that Ricky was supposed to be at. But he will be at the House of Glory show. Um, I guess it's within that couple of days. In
Yeah.
Chicago. Yeah, I think he has another show coming up, but yeah,
Brilliant.
I'm excited. So I will
And that's
definitely
available on YouTube also, isn't it? The GCW stuff.
um
I think they have their own YouTube.
I'm not sure if it's live like MLW is.
Okay. Possibly not.
But
No.
I do think there are different pirated websites that you
No, we need
can
to do. We need to
on.
get someone from that on here with us, and they can confirm it one of the days.
Yes, yes. But yeah, that should be a great show. I'm looking forward to it. I think this is their only New York show for the next couple of months.
Okay.
So I didn't want to miss it. So yes, I will be there on Sunday. And yeah, so I'm gonna talk all about it next week.
Exciting times. Brilliant. Well, look, that kind of concludes, I think, our first live stream, first of hopefully
Yes.
many,
Oh yes.
which is, just stick with us, folks, and get involved as always. Leave your comments below. Let us know how you feel about the various promotions in the world of wrestling in general, and what kind of product we're having delivered to us every week, and any improvements you feel can be made, or if you're happy with it all, even better. But
Yes.
yeah, happy times, exciting times ahead.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So just thank you for tuning in, and we look
We will
forward
see you
to
again soon.
talking to you next week.
Bye bye.
Bye.